Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Growing Up with Gaming. If you can't already tell, this is going to be a different kind of episode compared to the first two. This is going to be more of a commentary, retrospective, whatever you want to call it, on the series. I kind of want to touch on some of the core ideas of the first two episodes, elaborate on some of the things I could have elaborated more. It's kind of nice because now that I'm a little removed from those episodes, I can look back at them and see what I should have done, could have done, would have done had I, spent more time on it, or what I would do now with what I know. You get the idea. And I also just want to talk about a little more opinionated whatever. I don't know how long this episode's going to be. I don't want it to be a podcast, but I don't want it to be 5 minutes either, I don't want it to be too edited down. I want it to be pretty raw, so sorry if there are a few more audible breaths in there, some pops, some, awkward pauses, some misspeaks, some, IRL typos and whatever. I wrote a script, I wrote an outline, and just for some ideas, some stuff I want to touch on. So yeah, let's. I don't really know what I'm gonna be showing in the background of this. Again, this is pretty informal. If you couldn't already tell, it's gonna be pretty disorganized. But I hope there is a point to it, and I hope there is something that can be gained and taken away from this. So, without further ado, I'll jump into. I wrote down that. Yes. Further ado. I just want to say, before I jump into it too deeply, that I am very appreciative and very thankful for not just the response to parts 1 and 2, but to my channel as a whole. And I'm going to touch on this later, but I've been seeing a lot of comments like, you deserve more views, or your video quality does not show in your subscriber count, or whatever. And seeing comments like that really make me proud of what I've done. They make me really happy. They make me feel very like I'm doing something right, like I'm on the right track, because this isn't a job. This isn't something I'm dedicating my entire life to. I am currently a college student. I don't have a lot of time to do this right now since the semester has picked up quite heavily. That's why a lot of my videos come out way later than intended, is because I'm busy doing other things, because I haven't really settled into a specific role or place yet. I wanted this one to come out sooner, and I'm going to say that about every single video I make, but again, classes came up. I recently had something happen in my family that I needed to step away from the internet for a while to attend to. There's just been a lot of contributing factors to why I've been late, and I apologize for that. But I want you guys to know that, this isn't my main commitment, and I'd like it to be. I'd really like it to be, and I'll touch on it later about what I'd like to do and whatever. This is gonna kind of be an all-purpose video of A, touching on the things I talked about earlier, B, giving you a cohesive ending to this series and something to walk away with, and C, kind of an update. I have a chance to just sit here and talk into a microphone for a while, and so I'm going to take that opportunity and say what I need to say about pretty much anything I need to talk about. So, now, without further ado, the first thing I mentioned in my outline is that in part 1, I mentioned cultivation theory, which was something that came up originally when studying TV and its effects. I took a class last year called Video Games in Society, which sounds like a pretty awesome college class to take, and yeah, it was very non-traditional. I just saw it and thought it'd be interesting. One of my friends recommended it to me because I needed a class, and it sounded like the perfect fit. Not something you typically see on a college campus, but I'm in the journalism school at my college, and so there are a lot of non-traditional classes, some stuff that you wouldn't expect. So when I saw something video game related, I had to jump on it. And it was a class more dedicated to the psychology of gaming, perception, which was a huge help in making this series, and actually kind of piqued my interest in making something along the lines of what I've accomplished in this series, where it kind of turned my brain onto the idea of, okay, what if things aren't as bad as I think they are? What if things are worse than I think they are? What if some of the gaming's critics are right about certain things? What if they're not right about certain things? It kind of put those things into perspective and made me think on a more unbiased level of, okay, let me take what I know about gaming and let me take what I know about journalism and whatever and combine the two. And that's where you get part two. Part two is kind of the main meat of what I wanted to do in this series. That's kind of why part two is kind of what it's all about. It kind of says everything I wanted to say from the get-go. That's the whole idea. It was the inception of the entire series. Is like the inception of the entire series is what you find in part two, is the idea of the media's reception to gaming, because I am someone who's studying the media, because I am a broadcasting and journalism student. But back to what I was going to say about cultivation theory. It was originally something in TV that I'll talk about it. It's basically, I thought, okay, it's something that can apply to TV. Why can't it apply to video games too? And that's kind of what was taught in that class also, is why can't things that we use to study other forms of entertainment be applied to gaming, because it is relatively new, and so the people are trying to figure out different ways of researching different psychological elements. And basically, the cultivation theory states that the more you consume something, the more it affects how you think and how much you think about it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I remember when I first started playing Uncharted 2 in 2009, I was an impressionable high schooler. Let me think. No, I would have been 13, so I would have been, 13. So I, as an impressionable teenager, I couldn't really stop thinking about it, because it was something that affected me so deeply. And even just simple stuff like my wardrobe, like wearing a jeans or a coat in the winter, reminded me of the Himalayas section in Uncharted 2, and it made me feel like Nathan Drake or whatever. And cultivation theory is like kids who imagine catching Pokemon during walks to their friends' houses, or thinking about Metal Gear Solid when you see cardboard boxes. That's cultivation theory. It's, okay, I'm exposed to this thing a lot, so I start seeing it more in the real world. I think about it more in the real world sense. And that's, you can kind of tell where that might turn violent, like if theoretically someone were to get into a fight or something, and they have certain techniques or thoughts or whatever that they'd like to replicate. I'm in a situation. They subconsciously kind of think, I'm in a situation. What if I used this that I saw in the game or a movie or whatever, because it was cool and badass or whatever. And it's not like I said, I say it's subconscious, but it's not. It's like you don't think about why you think about things when you're thinking about them. That's what I mean by subconscious. It's not like you're not even realizing that you have those thoughts in your head. It's, you do, but you don't think about why you do. And that's cultivation theory. It's kind of like when in part 2 with the Norway killer, he used Model Warfare 2 to train, but in that case it was less training. It's like cultivation theory. You think about it, you consume it, you think about it, you want to replicate the action. And so when you go out, you train how to replicate the action in the most efficient way possible, which is where you get people like the Norway killer who, did kill many people in that shooting and that bombing. It's kind of like replication due to cultivation, but there's also the concept of priming, which is very similar. Basically, it's kind of the same thing, really, where it's kind of what advertising is based on, where Arby's, they want you, they beat you, and they don't beat you over the head with advertising, but they show you an ad, and they want you to think about it. And they don't want you to go, I want Arby's right now. They want you to pocket that idea. So when you're, out for lunch or whatever, you go, I don't really know what I want I know. I remember that Arby's ad or whatever. I like that ad. Maybe I'll go there because, I like that ad or whatever. It's stuff like that where, oh, I'm recalling something that was primed in the first place. Yeah. In part one, I also mentioned a thing called meta-analysis. And basically, that's a giant compilation, just a grouping together a bunch of relevant studies on a single topic, and it extracts specific information based on that. It's handy for seeing the consensus on a bunch of scientific journals quickly, but you don't always get the nitty-gritty details on things. Their opinion might look one way. On a nice bar graph, but when you read into the semantics of their statement, their words might have less weight than it might seem. They're mostly trustworthy, but they're not always the be-all, end-all that some want them to be. You know, because like when you see a meta-analysis of something that supports an idea, that doesn't always say, it's not always distinctly in favor of that idea. It's just, it's a grouping of certain ideas. I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but you get the idea. Oh yeah, in part two, I'm just reading my outline, so I'm kind of jumping from thought to thought. In part two, I have a whole section of part two based on No Russian. I didn't even mention, for some reason, I just totally forgot, it didn't even dawn on me, that you can totally skip No Russian. You know, if you don't want to see that controversial level, that violent, because I actually remembered when I was talking to my mom, because she watched the video. Hi, Mom. She watches my videos. And she watched the video. She said she was very shocked at No Russian because I showed the level, and she said like that is just that is excessive and whatever. And it to someone who isn't playing Doom or whatever, and you see something that is meant to shock. It is meant to shock people. That's the whole idea of that scene, is to be very shocking. I remember the first time I saw it, it really put like a knot in my stomach. I had a really guttural response to it. Now, since I've seen it a million times, I don't really respond to it the same way as I once did. But it really is a shocking mission. But you can skip it too. So I feel like a lot of the controversy. The reason I bring that up is because I feel like a lot of the controversy surrounding that mission in particular never mentioned that, hey, even though this is an M-rated game, kids will be playing it, but you can still have some control over what they see and what they do. I mean, it's not that hard to actually find the level. You can just turn off the skip or whatever, but still, the skip is there for the people who don't want to see something like that. And has great narrative importance, that mission, but again, if you don't want to see it, you don't have to, because they give you the option, and I just felt like mentioning that. Okay. Do I have any other thoughts? Man, I have way fewer thoughts or whatever. Okay, so the rest that was more just touching base on the things that I wanted to elaborate on. Now it's going to be more of just me talking about this video, the previous videos, just stuff I want to talk about in the context of the series. Okay, so the title of this video, at least as far as was planned, what I'm planning on calling it as of the moment of this recording, is Effect with an A. And the reason it's Effect with an A and not Effect with an E is because I want that verb to mean something. I want people to look at this Growing Up with Gaming series and to learn something and to share that knowledge or perspective with others. Even if it is as simple as just seeing someone posting uninformed or ignorant things and then sharing one of these with that person. That's the point of all this. It's to share what we think and feel and believe, and to present it with irrefutable evidence that supports that, and a professionally presented, at least I hope it's professionally presented, something you can point at and say, hey, I disagree with you. I think this video does a good job of presenting why I disagree with you, and something that you could look at and maybe learn from. That's really why I made these videos, is so you could just point at it and say, hey, this is a good one-stop shop for how I feel about this situation, this opinion. Not everything has to be logical or reasonable, of course. I do a ton of things that don't make any sense, but I do them anyway because it makes me feel good, or that's just how I am. Sometimes I don't really know what I'm trying to say, but I guess I'm trying to say is you don't always need a reason to do or feel to do things the way you do or to feel the way you do. Sometimes you just feel the way. I don't really know why I wrote that down. I'm going to be honest. But I do think there is something to be said about that feeling. Man, I really tied that in poorly, didn't I? Huh. Yeah, that was a pretty pretty unprofessional non sequitur. Now that I'm saying it out loud. But I dug this grave and now I'm gonna get in it. Yeah. We like video games here. That's why you watch this channel, I'm assuming. Sometimes it's not always. Sometimes why you like games doesn't always make sense. What we do doesn't make any sense. There are people out there, fighting in wars, covering stories, fighting or being activists for causes they believe in, changing things for the better. It's hard to feel like what we do, what we love matters sometimes, even with music sometimes you feel like there's more of something that you can point at and go, this matters because blank. You can just talk to Joe Schmo on the street and say music is cool, movies are cool, TV is cool. But you can't always do that with games. You kind of have to justify it a little bit more. So that's what I mean. I think that's why I wrote that down in the outline is why not everything we do has to be logical or reasonable. Sometimes we just do things because we feel like doing them, because we like doing them. I have anxiety, so I kind of I'm very self-aware of the things I do on a just on a very basic personal human level. You become aware of how you walk. You don't really think about, most people don't think about themselves walking, but sometimes I become self-aware of it and I start worrying about my one leg, putting one leg in front of the other and people looking at me and I'm probably walking really weird. So that's kind of what it is like. That's kind of what it's like liking video games. You're having fun, everything's normal, and then you think about it a little bit and then you kind of go, well, you feel like you have to justify it, and then it feels weird, and you go, why do I do this? Why do I enjoy ripping, heads off of demons, or shooting my friends in multiplayer games, or playing Madden, or playing virtual football instead of real football? You don't really think about it. You don't think about why you do what you do. And, I'm back on the anxiety thing. I think a lot of gamers, I usually try to avoid the word gamers just because I kind of cringe whenever I hear it. But that's the term, gamers. It's totally a weird me thing, and that's funny because that's kind of what I'm talking about. Excuse me. What did I even eat? I had chicken wings for dinner. I remember now. Yeah. Anyway. But what I was trying to say is I do pretty irrational things. I just, I don't really throw boxes away. I haven't done it in a while. I just kind of throw them in a pile in the corner and I'll deal with it when I deal with it. I don't really care about things that might come back to bite me. I don't, and I don't know. I'm afraid of setting a bad example sometimes with because I don't always have the best hygiene. Sometimes I don't have time because I'm a busy college student, so I don't always have time in the morning to get ready fully. I don't always brush my teeth in the morning like I wish I could. I don't always shower for as long as I wish I could because the water gets cold because I wasted too much time just standing there thinking about life. You do irrational things and then you kind of go, dang it, I hope someone doesn't look at me weird today. I'm always afraid of setting a bad example for gamers because I wear like a Fallout t-shirt, but they see me sweating like crazy, or they can tell that I didn't clip my fingernails or whatever. I get really anxious about that. Like, oh God, they're going to think all of us are weird and unhygienic, but they don't realize the situation, why I look weird today, or why I might be acting a little strangely today. They don't understand that I, may have dealt with something on a personal level recently, or I'm going through a depressive episode, or a family member passed away. You know, people don't really look at situations, and I guess the reason I'm going on this weird rant and I'm 20 minutes into this video, even though I want it to be like 10 minutes, is just to remind everyone out there that there's real people everywhere. And it's easy to forget that behind every username, every comment, every developer, every video, article, review, or anything, there's a real human being behind it. Someone had to make the thing you consume. And that person might be weird or eccentric to a lot of people. That people may not like the things that everyone else likes, or might look at life with a different perspective, or, you know, politically different, or whatever. But I think one of the main reasons people online are so unrelentingly mean is just that we forget that. We're in online especially. I know what it's like to feel depressed or detached and want other people to understand exactly how that feels by tearing them down. I mentioned that in the first episode, how that's kind of sometimes a responsive depression. And I can guarantee a lot of the people who say mean things online are too young or too detached to realize that what they say matters. It's easy to write off people who are upset at certain things as SJWs or whatever, but as I've matured, you know, I'm 22 years old, I've realized that there's really no reason to needlessly antagonize anyone. Maybe it's just personal, on a personal level. It just feels weird to me. Like, what do we gain from intentionally going out of our way to upset people? Do we just laugh at it? We just laugh at it? That's really all there is to it? Is that really why people are upset that they're getting banned on Rainbow Six Siege for typing out comical versions of racial or homosexual slurs because they're upset because they can't laugh at someone else's expense anymore? Is that why we're upset about PC culture, you know? I know I'm getting, like, political or whatever, but I really, you know, I would consider myself liberal. I don't care if you disagree or whatever, and that's not like a dismissive I don't care. It's more of an, you know, take it or leave it. But I just think it's kind of pathetic that people are upset that they can't laugh. They can't have a laugh at the expense of other people anymore. I don't care about edgy, like, I'm not personally offended by edgy humor most of the time, because I think sometimes you do need to be able to laugh at messed up things sometimes to get some of the inherent darkness you have out sometimes. But if your entire shtick is just shock humor and getting a rise out of someone, then I'm just left to assume that you're either 14 years old, severely depressed, or just a political extremist on one spectrum or the other. The whole point of this series was to try to understand the mentality that goes into wanting to hurt people. At least the first episode. Not the whole series, just the first episode. I wanted to try to apply some of the personal knowledge and experience to this understanding. Wow, I'm losing my voice. Holy crap. I kind of wanted to give myself an excuse to research certain things and attempt to come to an understanding about all this. And after months and months about reading about Columbine, about toxic online behavior, about the role American and international societies play into it, I don't really know what to say that hasn't been said already. It's kind of why I wanted this series to be a two-way street. I just present you with my take, the research, the opinions, and the ideas, and you go out in the world and maybe think about the things I say and think about the world a little differently, to maybe think about the enemy more, to think about the other side. And that's why it was so fascinating researching Jack Thompson. He was so fascinating to research. Here's a guy who I can disagree with on almost every single level, but I still get why he's doing the things he was doing. He's the ultimate, like, he's such a good antagonist. You want to hate him, but you get why he did what he was doing. He was just trying to look out for kids, really. Everything he did, everything he said, everything he did, it's angled with the whole parent-kid dynamic. But I think the way he did it was wrong. And that's not a hot take. He deliberately attacked and lied about gaming to try to get action, but the facts just didn't line up with what he wanted. He saw things as a dramatic hellscape when in reality, things were getting better. It's relevant to today. It's super relevant to today's politics. It's all about making you think everything is worse than it really is and then coming up with a BS solution to that non-existent problem. and then you can control the message. I'm ranting. But this is the kind of stuff I want people to think about when they watch these videos. I watched a ton of clips from Bowling for Columbine during my research, and the documentary Bowling for Columbine. And regardless of whether or not you like Michael Moore, that's beside the point. One of the main reasons I looked into that documentary was for Marilyn Manson. Here's this guy with a pretty outrageous look and sound, and yet he's more well-spoken than almost anyone else I've seen on TV. He has reasons for doing the things he does, and his message, I think, is really special. It's easy to look at this guy and assume a lot, but that's the idea. That's the whole idea of Marilyn Manson. He wants to push buttons. He wants to get people thinking. His entire thing is to make, teenagers or whoever feel like they have an identity when they listen to his music. Maybe not like an identity, but it's very individualistic. I think a lot of people tend to misinterpret loud, heavy lyrics or violent video games as a method of channeling or increasing aggression, as you see with Jack Thompson, but really they're a nice way of relieving that tension for most, sane people at least. I mean, like, when I'm angry, I listen to heavy metal. I love, I don't know what it is, man. I just listen to heavy metal when I'm legitimately angry about something. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance going on. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just, it's not because it makes me want to tear a bus in half, but it just soothes me. It's like, hey, this thing matches my mood. And before you know it, you feel fine. You don't even think about it, and all of a sudden you're calmed down, you're whatever. You forget why you're mad in the first place. And it gives you something to focus on. It gives you something you can look at and think, oh yeah, this singer or whoever is right. Things are messed up in society. Or yeah, this guy or girl is right. I shouldn't be afraid to express myself. Extreme content can offer so many different types of therapeutic release, so long as it doesn't go overboard, We can't forget to draw lines on certain topics, we gotta be careful not to swing too hard. We gotta be careful we don't swing too hard in a certain direction and lose ourselves to something. I've seen a lot of people kind of pigeonhole themselves into specific archetypes because they believe in something and they kind of they embody everything that goes into, I don't know, it feels like people they're archetypes surrounding different types of people, when in reality people are very complex. But I feel like people are, simplifying themselves sometimes by going for extremes or certain, it's not just politically, just even just music or games or genres and stuff like that. People there are archetypes of people that like certain genres of things, And I feel like we as people kind of oversimplify ourselves sometimes because of that. We kind of narrow our horizons. I'm the racing guy. I'm the racing game guy. I'm the EDM listener. I'm the metalhead. I'm the puzzle game guy. I only like first-person narrative experiences. I'm the indie rock hipster. I'm the film snob. I'm the bro. I'm the shooter bro. I play Fortnite and Call of Duty and FIFA. I feel like people kind of archetype themselves by not exploring. We kind of just like what we like and don't think about other things too much. That's why I did the series earlier in my channel, Love Letter. I wanted to kind of say, hey, here's some alternative. I know you guys like these big games. Here's some really cool games that I think you should check out, like Wild Arms, which is gonna be on the PS Classic. That's crazy that a deep cut like that. Yeah. And, oh, man, I totally forgot. I think it was part 1, I wanted to mention that I didn't even talk about how gaming disorder is an official thing now, and how I was going to bring up a hot take, and that's, I don't know if it's a hot take. I think it's just a more level-headed, non-biased take. And it's saying that I think that's actually a good thing. Gaming disorder isn't the CDC saying that everyone who plays games is immediately an addict, is immediately, dismissing their family or life's responsibilities. It's basically a way for people who are truly affected by gaming addiction, like people who do actually ignore responsibilities to play games, to get real official help, to go to these places where they can get real, educated help on something, because it's now an official thing from the CDC. Okay, bodily noises aside, I've been doing a lot. That's pretty much wrapping up everything I wanted to say about growing up with gaming. We're 30 minutes in. Oh man, I only wanted this to be like a 15-minute video, but that's what happens. I ranted real bad early on about anxiety, but just thinking about it gives me anxiety. I'm not amazing at this whole unscripted, unfiltered talk. That's kind of why I liked doing Growing Up with Gaming, the first 2 episodes, because I had a script. It allowed me to use my writing experience to write something, and it gave me it was a good test to see how I did reading and performing a script. I'm very inspired by Easy Allies, and I think that shows in a lot of my work. Brandon Jones, he makes it look easy. He's the voice of Easy Allies. He just makes it look easy every time. If you listen to those Easy Allies reviews and you think, oh, I could do that, and then you actually write the script, you sit down to record it, and you hesitate. You sit there and you don't hit the record button. You go, I'm going to watch a few YouTube videos, or I'm going to listen to music real quick just to get my brain off of this and just go in natural. But you got to for this episode, I seriously just went, you know what? I'm not going to, beat around the bush any longer. I'm just going to grab my microphone, hit record, I'm just going to grab my outline, hit record, see what happens. And that's where you get the weird anxiety rant from. But I had this written down. I didn't print it, so I'm probably not going to say everything I wanted to say when I wrote it down. But I want to touch on my channel and the reason I named this video Effect. And I touched on it briefly earlier, how I kind of wanted this series as a whole to be something you could send people you disagree with to, as kind of a professionally presented voice of reason. Something that I really, feedback that I really appreciated. Again, from my mother, I value her. I value my family, or my mother's opinions very deeply. And I'm not just saying that because she's probably listening. She said that she thought, at least, and this is like the most biased source you could get, so take this with a grain of salt, but my mother thought that I did a good job of presenting information very non-biased, presenting the information, having my own opinion. I thought there were definitely moments in part 2 where my opinion came through, but that was just me as a gamer presenting things that, about gaming. I'm passionate. That's why I have this channel, is because I'm passionate about games. If I wasn't passionate about games, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of a microphone for half an hour. I lost my train of thought about where I wanted to go with this, but it all boils down to the fact that I am very pleased with the feedback I get with this channel. My Need for Speed video is... I can't believe how many views that thing has. Last time I checked, it has about 117,000 views, which every time I tell somebody about that, they can't believe it, and I can't believe either that just some guy from a small town in Nebraska made a video that over 100,000 people watched. So if you watched that and you're listening to this, thank you so much. But I wanted to touch on that also, about how that kind of not upsets me, but concerns me. About, I see my videos, and I see that one doing incredibly well, and then I see my other videos with 10 views, a couple dozen views, 100 views, 200 views, and I appreciate every single view, guys. Don't get me wrong about this. I'm amazed anyone even watches or listens. It blows my mind every day that, my channel isn't garbage in terms of, people watching and stuff like that. Numbers and statistics and whatnot. Anyway, but I want more engagement. I don't want to just post things that will get clicks. I don't want to start doing Fortnite Easter egg hunts. I don't want to start posting Call of Duty commentaries. I don't want to buy into what's popular just to get views and clicks. You know what I mean? I don't want to sell my soul to become a successful YouTuber. I want to gather an audience that, no offense, but I don't want to cater to my audience that much. Of course I want to listen to feedback. Of course I want to do things that I think my audience would love. And that's why I haven't really done many reviews lately, is because I've been kind of, I don't know, like I really want to do the Forza Horizon. I really want to do a review of Forza Horizon 4 because I think that's something that people who got into my channel might appreciate, because I think a lot of my subscribers came from that Need for Speed video. But I also want to make videos about Persona. I want to make videos about Wild Arms, you know. I want to make videos about deep cuts and kind of get into why we like certain games or games that need certain exposure. I want to present things with a more professional outlook. Again, like I said, I don't want, no offense to you, whoever, but I don't want to be Ali putting dubstep in front of my videos, talking about doing Fortnite dances and drinking Slurp juice from Fortnite or whatever. I don't care. Like, real talk, I don't care about Fortnite. You know, I just don't. I tried it, had fun, moved on. So I'm not gonna start becoming a Fortnite YouTuber or Twitch streamer. Although I would like to do streaming. So I guess why I bring this up is because I'm a little confused at the direction of this channel. I want to do the things that I want to do, and I want to do things that you guys want me to do, but I don't see enough people commenting on my stuff that, like, feedback, you know? I see a lot of, hey, this was great, keep up the good work, or this channel is very underrated. You know, I love your videos. It's because I don't really have the numbers. I love seeing those comments, guys. Like, again, this sounds so snooty, but, like, don't get me wrong, I love seeing those comments, but it doesn't help me with what should my next video be. How do I carry this momentum forward? It is kind of just me throwing stuff out there that I would like to do and hoping it lands with somebody. And I think what would help with that is getting more eyes on each video, getting more people in the comments, getting more likes and dislikes or whatever. Not that I really care about likes and dislikes, but you know what I mean. It's a very basic form of feedback. Any form of feedback, just someone saying, hey, I exist and I watch this. Just seeing someone say I watch this makes my day. Every time someone subscribes, I go, oh, really? Seriously? All right. And so, yeah, I got to keep doing the click. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So when I see someone say this channel deserves more views, the only thing I can say right back is you can help with that. You can help affect this channel and its growth. You can make this channel grow better than I can. You know, all I do is make videos. All I can do is make the videos, post them, share them on Twitter, and, you know, hope something happens with that. But you guys, people who watch and listen to this, if you've made it 38 minutes in, you can, you know, share these videos and say, hey, I think you'd like this. This is very professionally done. This guy doesn't have very many subscribers or whatever. You know, maybe check him out and let him know that you're watching or whatever. I would love that, you know. And again, I'm not trying to force my YouTube channel to be a thing that I get paid for, but I want to do this more. And unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to do this. And seeing more eyes on my thing, like, you know, seeing results and seeing some sort of payoff to these videos would really help me prioritize them a bit more. You know, I'm not going to stop making YouTube videos because people aren't watching them. That's dumb. You know, I'm this far. I almost feel bad when I'm not making a YouTube video, and that means I like doing it. So the views don't matter to me. But all I'm saying is seeing more eyes on this channel would, you know, how do I even, like, I'm having this hard time verbalizing this without sounding weird or entitled or whatever. And that's exactly the opposite of what I want to be. I guess the point is, I'm going to make YouTube videos anyway, but seeing more people enjoying my videos, seeing more feedback, seeing a little bit more audience interaction, that'll really push me forward and make more videos more often. and seeing people clamoring for it, saying, "Hey, when's your next video? Hey, I really like this. Maybe you should try this next." That stuff alone really gets me, in the mood to make videos. I get lazy sometimes. I'll be the first to admit. This has gone on way too long. You get the idea by this point. I've been rambling way too long. I just really wanted to get the point across that if you want to see this channel grow, you gotta do something about it. And I love that I even have the opportunity to say that, and someone might actually listen and do that. That's incredible. I just almost did it again before I stopped myself halfway. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. That's it for growing up with gaming. God, I'm really proud of what I've done with this series and this channel, and I can't wait to do. I have a huge project, even bigger than growing up with gaming. I have an enormous project that's coming. You're not gonna see it for a while. In fact, it might not even start until November, December, around winter. It's going to be a while before you see this big project. So I'm going to try to make some I'm going to try to make some smaller videos between that. But that's really because it's going to require a lot of time and energy. I don't want to give it away what it is yet because I already made something for it that is amazing. I'm not that humble when it comes to stuff I make. I'm gonna be honest. What I made for this to tease. I made a trailer for the video series that I'm working on right now, and it makes me cry every time I see it. So, it's just a I'll just say this: it's a celebration of the best games. It's a celebration, and that's what gaming should be. It's a celebration of feelings. It's illogical to like games, but that's why it's fun. So, anyway, I've said everything I want to say. This ending bit has already gone on way too long. This video has gone on way too long. I've repeated myself multiple times. I'm not good at this unscripted thing. This has basically turned into a podcast, and I'm okay with that. I made a big long podcast about the series, about why I did the series, about stuff. We went on a journey this episode. I discovered things about myself, and yeah, I hope you did too throughout the course of this series. I don't know how to end this. I have no idea how to end these unscripted things, so I'm just gonna end it the only way I know how, and that's saying, I hope I see you next time. Bye.